Hello, and welcome to round 2 of this insane rise of the Eldrazi draft. Another awkward hand here, very similar to the first hand of this tournament, where we don't have green, but if we draw green, that's pretty good. And we are on the draw, so that does give us more prospects. It also has our stagger shock to hold out until that time. It's not an ideal hand, but I think it is close enough to keep it. I mean, if we get forest off the top, like in the next 2 turns, stranger things have happened. Oh, yeah. Well, just right when you need it, I guess. We're not going to make the same mistake of playing Mountain early when we have this Beast Breaker into pawn. So play the Swamp. And then they'll never see it coming, our 2-mana guy. They'll probably kill it, though. There's a bunch of red drops and black drops this early that could deal with the Beast Breaker. You don't try not to be too tricky, though. Just because they could have it doesn't mean they do have it. And even if they do have it, it's not the end of the world. So if they get greedy here and they do have it, but they play a creature instead, then we get the Pawn of Ulamog. So when they... Oh, we don't have the mana for that. Well, whatever. They might be waiting to kill this in response to the leveling. So because we don't have another play, we might as well just level it anyway. If they don't have the answer to it, that... okay. Ooh, a Heat Ray. Sure, if they don't have the answer to it, it's just so good for us. But the only reason not to do that would just be to hold up Stagger Shock and to see if they do it on combat. If they did it on combat, we could have held up Might of the Masses. Oh no. How are we going to deal with this Tuk-Tuk? Probably by ignoring it. So what's the play this turn? We could... yeah, this thing gets a little bigger next turn. It levels up for black. Do we want to kill that now? The thing is, we could... They need to draw the next black to activate it. It's not clear that they even want to do that. And then we could Stagger Shock it after. Yeah, I'm just going to play the Nest Invader and leave up all of our little tricks. Some part of me would... Yeah, they do have the second black. Right. So I imagine that they go after our Nest Invader, but it is unclear. We don't know what they have in hand. Yep, there's part 1 of this little thing. Oh, they're not doing it. That's pretty great for us. Now we have to decide whether to block Tuk-Tuk, and I think not. Well, now we have to decide whether or not to Stagger Shock this Assassin, or wait until our turn. I'm going to wait. We do have these payoffs for Eldrazi spawns. Land? Splinter Twin, awesome. We'll store that for later. For now, we want to Stagger Shock this Gruul Draws Assassin. We take 2 in the air from the Gloom Hunter. That's not too bad. I don't want to attack and have them unlock Tuk-Tuk. Tuk-Tuk can stay locked for now. We have indefinite blockers for him if the 1 damage ever becomes relevant, once we get this Splinter Twin into play. Oh sweet, they play their Pawn of Ulamog right into our Stagger Shock. To be fair, we might just want to Stagger Shock this Gloom Hunter anyway, because our next answer to it is a long way off. I love how we're playing like the same deck twice in a row. We played Jund round 1, and now we're playing against like the black-red sacrifice deck. And that's our deck all over again. Yeah, to play for the late game, I'm actually going to go after the Gloom Hunter. If they get one more Eldrazi Scion than they would have, that's not a big deal. So there it is. We get our own second Pawn of Ulamog. And at this point, we might as well trade one Eldrazi Scion for 3. Not having anything better than that to do. Still no good attacks. But at least we have reasonable insurance against this Tuk-Tuk token. What did we take over Tuk-Tuk? We took Nest Invader. Did we put the person to our left into the same deck as us? Maybe. Alright, you can have the 1 damage. I'm not amused. No! We need our spawn. Oh, they're killing their own Tuk-Tuk? That'd be fun if we pumped their Tuk-Tuk so they couldn't kill it. But we don't have the green, and we probably just wouldn't do that anyway. Oh, oh mercy. I don't know if I would have done that. That's silly. We do have plenty of blockers for it. And if we draw red, come on red, okay. I can't always predict the future. Just sometimes. Interesting. They do seem to be set up for like stealing creatures and such. So maybe Bloodthrone Vampire is insurance against that. The other thing is we could play this Brood Warden and upgrade a couple of our spawns. Nah, I'm going to get the Bloodthrone Vampire into play. It doesn't give up on any spawns. And it does allow us to chump the Tuk-Tuk. Well, not chump it, but Might of the Masses to take down the Tuk-Tuk. They don't even get a spawn off the Tuk-Tuk because, well, they got it off this guy, but they don't get it off the token. Even if it is rather legendary. Okay. Let's not go too nuts here. We'll block this and give it Might of the Masses. So +6/+6. There aren't that many, like there's Heat Ray, but there aren't that many things that could disrupt this. And any of them would cost a card in response. I just didn't want to put one of our other bigger creatures at risk here. Like if they want to kill the spawn in response, like it's probably worth it to save their token, but I'm fine trading Might of the Masses with that card. Oh man, I would be happy drawing just about any color, yeah. So they are doing Heat Ray, and we will sacrifice this spawn to our vampire. Might as well get some value out of it. But wait, there's more. Flame Slash? Oh no, they're just taking everyone out. Yeah. That makes our Splinter Twin a lot worse. Ah, the only land we just didn't need more of. It's still good. Can't complain too much, but no good attacks into that 2/3 right now. Okay. So, what is Tuk-Tuk up to? The Tuk-Tuk could attack here, and that gets really annoying. Because because we don't have any good blockers now, we have to give up a 2/2 to block it. Bolliged Scorpion. Yeah. So that's going to target Bloodthrone Vampire. We can sacrifice a spawn, I suppose. The spawn is stronger than, or weaker than Nest Invader because of Splinter Twin, and because Brood Warden might die. I don't think they can attack with Tuk Tuk after doing that. Yeah. Ooh, Cadaver Imp. More cards that we can't play. Come on, mana. You can do it. Well, I mean, we've drawn more non-land cards than you'd expect to, but our opponent's in the same boat right now. Unless they're sandbagging some things that they otherwise don't need. I really don't. I don't want to block Tuk Tuk here. What would we block it with? Nest Invader? Don't tell me they have another Scorpion. It's funny how the Scorpion couldn't kill the Eldrazi spawn. Oh, come on. So none of these things can be blocked. And to save our Bloodthrone Vampire, we have to sacrifice the spawn. This turn's gonna hurt. I guess I'm fine with doing that. I was considering just letting the Bloodthrone Vampire die. 5, 6, 7. We take 9 here and trade with the Pawn of Ulamog. Sure. For some reason, their deck is like pre-sideboarded against us. It's got Bolliged Scorpion, Infinite Heat Rays, Wrap in Flames, Tuk Tuk. All the stuff they need. The good news is I don't think there's a card in our deck that's a bad draw. Well, Forest. And we do have 3 more Forests in our deck. Whose idea was that? Yeah, at any point, Pawn of Ulamog would have just been so good. Being able to sacrifice a creature or let it trade and then have it to pump up Bloodthrone Vampire. Oh, man. That's why that card is good. Come on, Swamp. It is more likely to draw Swamp or Mountain than it is to draw whatever else. God, I don't want to put Splinter Twin on Brood Warden, but I think we have to. It gives us easier chump blocks. Splinter Twin on Brood Warden. It's happening. Don't kill, don't Heat Ray it. It is common. I guess I keep forgetting that Heat Ray is common. So it's possible for there to be a bunch in the draft. We have one of them, though. Oh, it's gonna be 7, 8 mana. Ulamog's Crusher. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. I think, yeah, most of the time you just want to do this on their end step, but we could think about doing it on their main step. Evolving Wilds, that's kind of slow. That's good, but it is kind of slow. I don't know. This thing's gonna get exiled anyway. Might as well pump it up. I could see them not blocking here. Well, we'll see. Alright, so they throw Tuk underneath, and we'll just sacrifice it. Get some value out of it. Alright, it's on you. As long as we don't sacrifice the wrong one, we should be in fine shape. Alright, Ulamog's Crusher. Yeah, they got us. They got off as quickly as they needed to. So we can't take this damage. So they might attack with everything, yeah. And that's fair enough. What we'll do is put a token of Broodwarden into play. Sacrifice Forest and Mountain. The only double red card we have in the deck is Splinter Twin. Go to blocks. Jump here. Trade with this thing and take 7. We can't even... That doesn't even work. So the only way to live is to lose a creature to Tuk as well. I don't... This is not good. And we do have the option of trading with Tuk. So let's sacrifice Broodwarden. We should have sacrificed Splinter Twin if this was the plan. So sacrifice another Broodwarden. And draw and concede, I would imagine. Too hard for us to beat this thing. Okay, and that is not going to do it. So, well, let's hold on a second. If we return something, we can play a 3-drop from our graveyard, and we're not at enough life. So, game 1 goes down to, you know, a pretty aggressive, removal-heavy black-red deck. I am confident we can prevail. Haze Frog. The problem there wasn't like the weakness of our thing, it was just kind of the inability to get things going. So I'm going to keep it like it is. I still like the mana decision, and I still like being on the draw to help out with that a little bit. Part of the strength of this deck is it has some more forests, and it can have a fast start with like a Balaged dude. But I mean, that's not always so consistent. And there's always the chance that your opponent has to mulligan. That's a bit more punishing on the play than on the draw. Hey, there's a chance we have to mulligan. So they're putting the rest of their scorpions into the deck to go up to the full 5 that they have or something. They see how many spawn we have. Well, they didn't really see our whole combo. They didn't see our double black cards. So they don't know how deep we're going in this strategy. Anyway, I said the deck was unbeatable. Turns out it can be beaten. But surely not in a match, just in a game. I would expect, anyway. They used to let you look at your deck while your opponent was still sideboarding after you submitted, And I have no idea why they don't do that anymore. You could make changes and submit again, as long as they hadn't submit the first time. Once you've both submitted, then they go on, and sideboarding ends. But now, I don't know, were there bugs with that? Was that like too much advantage for the person who submitted once? Is it too unlike real Magic, where once you submit, you've submitted? I don't know. Nobody knows. But here we are. The other possibility, and there's no way to tell this, is we could just be lagging out and we see this time going and the match doesn't come up, and they might be waiting for us in game, and we would just not know. We'd have to disconnect and reconnect to find out. But yeah, wait a few minutes, and the maximum sideboarding time is like 3 minutes. So, ooh, yeah, I like this. So if it's at more than 3 minutes, then you can start to worry. That's me trying to find things to talk about while there's really nothing to talk about. Ooh, they've got our upkeep. They're taking our upkeep hostage, because you never know. Yeah, I don't expect this Beastbreaker to live for long. We do have options next turn. Oh, so the thing to worry about here would be Vendetta, and I wouldn't put it past them to have it. But Vendetta means they get one less trigger off this later. I'm going to go for it. Let's start this party off early. And that means that certain other removal spells will take longer to come into effect. And next turn we can play Lust for War, make this thing attack every turn. They'll be incentivized to use all their spells as soon as they can. Oh, we can do both. Alright, first things first. Let's attack with this dude here. Once we run out of things to do, we might level it up some more, but right now we have plenty to do. Get this Nest Invader into play, and play Lust for War. I don't mind sacrificing the spawn here, just because of how aggressive this opening is. I mean, look at this. This is their turn 5, they're at 12. Now they're looking at going down to 9 before the end of their turn. To avoid that, they'd have to kill their own Kiln Fiend, which they could with their abundance of Scorpions, but you know, a 3-mana removal spell for a Kiln Fiend that wastes their value. Can't be too sad about that. It also means we get to attack in for another healthy 4 damage and play an Emrakul's Hatcher next turn. They've got options. That's what this pause here means. They are considering the options. On their time. So that's always nice. We can kind of imagine what they have. But that doesn't take up our time because the action is on them. All right, they're coming in. Well, I'll let it through. Because worst case is they just kill like all our creatures and they lose Lust for War. And that is a Valakut Fireboar. The scariest of all creatures. That's a really good blocker for our Beastbreaker. Interesting. Even if it was a 6/6. We could attack with both. That gets in 2 damage. They're down to 7. Then we have a bunch of blockers after the Hatcher. So yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, pretty easy block from them. We have no way to finish it off, so let's just try not to die. It's unlikely, but the right combination of spells here. it'd be very hard for them to kill 4 creatures. They could do it. They could have spawning, or whatever that thing, 1 damage to each creature they can't block, and then they'll kill their own thing. And then Flame Slash for this guy, and then all of a sudden they're attacking for 14. Oh man, Stagger Shock would have finished things off. But alas, it might still finish things off. I mean, we get them to 5 this turn. And the way we do that is attack with Beastbreaker and Emrakul's Hatcher and Nest Invader. And if they don't block the Hatcher, if they get greedy and block Nest Invader, then they're dead to Stagger Shock. We'll also put out a tempting Eldrazi spawn, because if they block that, they're also dead. Kind of a, no reason to do that, but it is silly. Okay. They're dead, and what we can do is play this Beastbreaker, and that's it. No leveling or anything. I don't want to sacrifice Eldrazi spawn to cast Stagger Shock. So the unbeatable Jund deck might still be alive in this tournament. Seven, 8, 9. Yeah, even if they had that thing that could make 3 creatures not block, well, 2 of them by killing them, we would still survive this attack. Unlike all the new sets they print, there aren't a ton of double strike effects in Rise of the Eldrazi. Probably why it's such a good draft format. Alright, put all these cards we don't want to see back in. Yeah, they didn't have flying. Spider Umbra's not great. Perish the Thought. Haze Frog. Get him. Get him with that Haze Frog. But yeah, I actually like all these cards well enough. Let's keep it as is. They're only 2 colors, so Contaminated Ground doesn't really get them. And besides, they are playing black. So it could just fix their mana for all their double black cards. Alright, finally we have a real hand. This is a hand's hand. We've got Nest Invader, Stagger Shock. We even draw a better turn 2 play. Eat your heart out, Kiln Fiend. So, definitely not blocking the Kiln Fiend here. Well, I don't know, because if they do a Vendetta or some way to kill this, they could get in for 4. But if they really wanted to do that, we just wouldn't be able to block anyway. Yeah, so no blocks here. Well, maybe if we get the chance to block, we probably should. Because all the spells they could cast at instant speed would probably be removal anyway, so they would have to aim it at us if it's a damage spell. The only thing I could see them doing is playing something pre-combat and then attacking in for 4. The other way to play that would be to wait until our turn, we attack, they kill another creature we play, and then block the beast. I don't know, anything could happen. Anything. It's not much use thinking about the possibilities that you can't respond to. But gotta do something. They haven't played a land yet. Maybe that's the real option here. Looking at this swamp makes me want to go back in time and pick up a... I saw foil one of these. Gotta get that. This is a cool art for a swamp. It actually, despite being like, I guess these are hedrons or something, cube hedrons, despite having those in the art, it still looks like a swamp. Whereas a lot of the art's like, does this look like a forest? I mean, there's a forest back there somewhere. It looks cool, but it doesn't look like a forest. It's got some mountains back there, but the focus of this picture is the bottom of this hedron. Anyway. Ooh, Bloodright Invoker. So they get to... I guess they can double block this Beast Breaker. We have a lot of options here. We could attack with the Beast Breaker, but then they only single block it. We could play Nest Invader and hold up our Might of the Masses, which would pump our guy up to a 5/5. And Might of the Masses would take out 2 creatures at once. If we pump it up, they just block with both and we kill both. But then we don't have a Nest Invader. Oh, lots of options. Lots and lots of options. We could Stagger Shock the Bloodright Invoker and then attack. How does next turn look if we do that? Next turn we could play our 4th land, Nest Invader, and level the Beast. Or at the very least, Nest Invader, hold up Might of the Masses. The way that develops our board most is this Nest Invader, but the Stagger Shock has the upside of killing both of these things. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that while they're tapped out. All of those options were really close. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe they kill Beast of Bala, like, maybe they kill this guy now? An attack for 4. The reason I like this, like, any way we do it there, it's kind of a 2-for-1. Now they get in 3 damage. I guess that's fine. Rebound. So let us clear the way here. Maybe Kiln Fiend was right there. Maybe that just represents more damage, but this lets us attack in and keep our options open. Since we don't really have uses for these guys right now, I'm just going to use it to level up the Beast Breaker. Oh, gotta click on it right. And that protects it from some of the removal that it could be vulnerable to, and gets in 2 more damage. Okay, Brimstone Mage, that's... Ooh. Alright, we've got a lot going for us now. And we can do a lot this turn. So let's forked bolt the Brimstone Mage before it gets any bigger. And we can no longer do that. Maybe we could have done that second main. Then we'll attack with both. And if they want to do something tricky to trade with the Beast Breaker, oh, okay, they don't. We could always save it. And if we level it up twice more, and we'll have the mana to do that next turn, then we get 6/6 attacking. So they've had enough. We got a ton of value out of our cards, and we make it to the finals.